There is a growing demographic worth $8 trillion taking over the American economy, but some companies are struggling to bring in their business. According to the AARP, more than 111 million consumers in the U.S. are over the age of 50. 47 million of them are over the age of 65, and the Census Bureau expects that number to more than double by 2060.
The book, The Longevity Economy, takes a look at this aging market and its effect on the U.S. economy. Dr. Joe Coughlin is the author of the book and founder and director of MIT's Age Lab, and he joins us now from Boston. Joe, this is a fascinating book, and part of the reason why it's so fascinating is I think a lot of Americans will be surprised that companies want to target folks that are 50 and older, because generally what you always hear about is targeting the young demographic, the 18 to 49-year-old individuals in this country. So what do you mean by the longevity economy?
Well, the longevity economy is something that's completely new. We've always thought about old age, if you will, as something that was staid and retired, not something that was a market or something that was vibrant. But today, the longevity economy is $8 trillion in the United States and upwards of $15 trillion globally. Imagine this. The economy of the United States and China are the only two economies larger than the longevity economy of the 50 plus.
You wrote in an article recently that part of the problem is that the image of innovation in this country is a 27-year-old man wearing sneakers, and we need to change that, right?
Absolutely. Not only is that face of new technology and new lifestyle going to be decidedly older, maybe sneaker clad, but decidedly older, it's going to be distinctly female, because the future in the longevity economy is female.
You know, in the book you write there's a misconstrued idea about what older in America is. I certainly think that, you know, it's always interesting to me when you go back and you look at movies from the 30s and 40s and you see somebody who's 40 or 45 in that movie and they look much older than a 40 or 45-year-old person does today. In other words, the point I'm trying to make is that, you know, you'll see people that are 50 years old that still live as if they were in their 30s because of the technology, because of just medical science that enabled people to look and act younger. People work out, people eat better. So what does it mean to be older in America today?
Absolutely. In fact, if many of us think about those old men or old ladies that were our aunts and uncles years ago, they were only in their 40s, and we thought they were what we would today think of as 70 plus.
Right.
No, the new generation gap is not just about age or education or, frankly, the fact that these folks have more disposable income. The new generation gap is expectations. We expect to live longer, and we expect, in fact, we demand to live better. And that's why we are now seeing a new longevity economy emerging as if it was a continent of consumers never discovered.
I totally get this when I read some of what you have here, because I thought about my mother, who's a retired teacher, and immediately after retiring, she began traveling. She started taking culinary classes at the culinary school and art classes at the Art Institute, and she's spending an awful lot of money and living a very, very full post-retirement life. One of the things that I thought was very interesting about what you write is that we really need to change the narrative and the mythology about getting older. That, you know, we're typically what happens is you work, and then you have sort of a big hurrah when you retire, and that's sort of the end of your celebrations. And you say, no, we've got to flip the script. There are new storylines to write now.
In fact, the real opportunity for business and, frankly, society is to reinvent 1/3 of your adult life. And your mom is the marker of the future. Women are going to be the innovators because not only do they live longer, but they're the chief consumer officer of the house. They're the folks who are closer to what we do every day. And frankly, a warning to men is women are way ahead of us on being able to live well in retirement. And a warning to business, not paying attention to older women is a loss to your market.
You know, but marketers don't ignore younger women. They know that women are the gatekeepers in the house. They buy the groceries. Sometimes they buy their husband's clothes. And so they market towards younger women. But does something happen as women get older?
Unfortunately, it appears that after about 35 and certainly after 50, older women, but older people in general, become invisible. And this is largely the fault of the baby boomers. The baby boomers marketed youth, youth, and youth. Well, now that the baby boomers are no longer young, they are perennially youthful. And I think maybe their legacy is going to be to write a new narrative on old age as not being old, but an entirely new life stage. And by the way, women today are the primary consumer in almost every category.
Joe, before we let
Doing
you go,
our part for the economy.
It's always been the case. It's always been the case. Before we let you go, Joe, and I haven't fully finished the book yet, but I'm curious. There's always been a controversy in, for example, in Japan, where they look at a population that is rapidly aging, and they don't have a lot of young people. Why don't we see the same phenomena there? In other words, why are they so worried? And you're suggesting here that there's a golden opportunity in the United States.
Remember, the oldest technology in the world is the story. And unfortunately, right now, business, society, and public policy is operating under an old story that older people are just simply to retire and go away. In Japan, because they have so few children, it is now at the forefront. What I'm saying to the United States and business and society, this is now a forefront of a new business, a new lifestyle of living better and longer.
I think it's really interesting. You've given Vlad and I a lot to look forward to.
But you made the good point, Anne Marie. I mean, my mom and dad are in their early 70s, and they travel. They spend they're out there doing stuff. Whereas my grandfather in his 50s would sit on the porch, smoke his pipe, and then go to bed.
It's very true. It's a different time. I'm ready to plan my downsizing party.
Hey, the days that you have in retirement are the same number of days from 0 to drinking age at age 21. 8,000 days, that's a lot of time.
Yeah, definitely. Joe Coughlin, thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.